Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you from my side for this edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. So I'll share my screen and we will get started by taking the blessings of God and Guru as we get this opportunity, precious opportunity to read this auspicious scripture. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get underway. All right, let's start with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's get started. Today we are on a very interesting topic of Karm Yog. We will continue to march forward and we will keep on exploring the depths of Karm Yog as that the shloka that we were on 2.47. But we are not going to go backward. We will continue to discuss that in detail as well as keep on introducing the concepts related to this topic in the subsequent shlokas, chapter 4 that we are on as well. So we'll do both side by side. Okay, this is a differently we will do it, not completely go back to 2.47 as we discuss this important topic of Karm Yog. So let me get to our shloka 4.19. We have two shlokas, so we'll take some hands and you'll get an opportunity to recite either of those. So I'm going to recite this one and get started. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. All right, let's take a few hands.
Radhe Radhe Shyamji, please go ahead.
Shyam.
Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnana agni dagdha karmanam tamahu pandita buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Shyamji, very nice. Jnanagni dagdha karmanam. Very nice. Let's take a few more hands on this one.
Radhe Radhe Rahulji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice. One more hand we can take and then we'll take the next shloka, which is very popular verse.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya, please go ahead.
Radhe. Yasya sarvesam arambha kama sankalpa varjita jnana agni dad karmanam tamahu panditam buddha.
Very nice, Prabhat. Radhe Radhe. Okay, maybe one more on this one.
Can I go ahead?
Sure.
Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddhaha.
Very nice. So let's quickly discuss this one, short description, and then we move on to the next shloka that the remaining folks can get a time opportunity on. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying, that the enlightened sages call those persons wise whose every action is free from the desire for material pleasures. Now, how profound this statement is. Every action is free from the desire for material pleasures, and who have burned the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. And this, how to burn the reactions of work, is what we are talking about. What we are talking is Karm Yog. Karm Yog is essentially burning the reactions of work. That means you are not adding to the pile of your reactions of work that you have accumulated across multiple lifetimes. And what do you do in the fire of divine knowledge? Okay. Now let's move on to the other verse, which we will continue to explore as we go through these discussions. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvhu ma te sangostva karmani.
All right. Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Come back, Samji.
Karmanyeva adhikarasti ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvhu ma te sango satkarmani. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you.
We saw that wonderful video where Samji was with Swamiji during Chandrayaan-3.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh yes. Okay. Where can I see all those photos?
I think it came on Instagram. I can share the link.
Or you,
Please do.
you
Yeah.
can see those in the temple of our hearts, okay, whichever one you prefer. All right. Let's take a few more hands.
Yeah.
Yes, Samji.
Yes, just to reiterate, we are giving priority to those who have their video on. We will take the others as well, but we recommend if you can keep your videos on for better engagement. Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Radhe. Karmanyevadhikarasте ma phale.
How did he get muted?
Ma Phaleshu muted.
Now we can't hear her anymore. I don't know.
Shyama, you need to fix your audio. Let's move on quickly.
Tarunji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvhu ma te sangostva karmani.
Nice, thank you, Tarunji. Okay. Manisha
Bye.
ji owns her video on. Thank you, Manisha ji.
So good to see you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvhu ma te sangotsva karmani.
Very nice, Manisha ji. Thank you for taking initiative and turning your video on today. Okay, how many hands do we have? Radhe Radhe, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's last 4 hands. Let's cover those quickly.
Radhe Radhe, Falguni ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvur ma te sangastva karmani. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Okay.
Uday Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur ma te sangotsva karmani. Radhe Radhe.
This is actually, in correct pronunciation, it will be Phaleshu. Phal. There is Phal. Is Phal or Phal? I think it's Phal, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a Ph of Phal, and there is Ph. Ph, your tongue touches your lip, and Ph, both the lips touch together. Ph is for Phal, and Ph is for fool. So the fool in English and fool in Hindi. So that makes a lot of difference. Anyway, I think it's Phal. All right, go ahead. Who's next?
Yeah, Riya ji, thank you for waiting. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Priyaji.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भू मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Very nice.
Radhe
Last
Radhe.
but not least, Golabji, please go ahead.
Yes, Golabji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
कर्मेण मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलितु मा संगति कर्मणि.
Very nice. Thank you, Golabji. I think the dog at the background is doing a good job keeping people awake. So let's get started. So this shloka, I said we are on 4.19, 4.19. And because it's an important concept on how to burn the reactions of our work carry a reaction to it, no matter what work we do. And Karm Yog, the concept of Karm Yog, which is so beautifully stated by Lord Krishna in 2.47, is going to talk about how do we do karma, which is not binding, where we burn the reactions and we make it work in our favor. Okay, both things happen. And this is an atomic verse with regards to the science of work. How do you bring in pleasure in your work? How do you attain instant peace? And how do you manage stress? You know, how it's a kind of a capsule that Lord Krishna gave 5,000 years back on how to manage stress on your day-to-day work. Everything is covered. So that is why we are going to go into great detail in this particular shloka. So what Lord Krishna is saying is you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself to be the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to inaction. Now, in the previous session, we really went deep into the first aspect of it, right? You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, where you focus on the process, not on the result. We looked at it in the theory, Stephen Covey's book. Also, we spoke about that, you know, the circle of control and circle of no control whatsoever. How do we mess it up in our head when we start focusing on things which are beyond our control? And then we looked at some of the more contemporary examples on how some of the high achievers in life, you know, the first question that comes to mind is, if I'm not attached to the results, how am I going to perform? We looked at people such as Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Virat Kohli, Michael Phelps, you know, how they reiterated the importance of focusing on the process that helps them achieve higher results in life. So today we'll continue to go deeper into this particular verse, and we are going to talk about why is God the supreme enjoyer. When you say you are not entitled to the fruits of our action, is God hungry for that fruit? And why does he desire those fruits from us, right? God is complete in himself. Why do we have to offer fruits to him? And why God is called the supreme enjoyer? So we will get into the technicalities of all of it today. So let's get started. Like we always do, we start with our, what do we start with? Yeah, the soul soup segment. What is the soul soup for today? Let's check it out. It's a beautiful picture I came across. It says that, you know, the mama horse, it's asking, I can't see a way through, said the boy. Can you see your next step? Is what the horse replies back, basically. And then, yes, just take that, said the horse. So basically, what happens in our journey is we may not see much further than what we are able to see right now. In fact, this is more related to this concept of, do I need to get all my questions answered right up front? Some people say, I have so many questions, right? And I need answers to everything. But if you have got an answer to even a little bit of knowledge, or a little bit of knowledge is some which has clicked to you, then what this concept is saying is make use of it. You may not know the entire way as yet, but focus on the next 10 yards. It's like trying to complete a 2-mile journey in the middle of a night with a lantern. When you have that lantern, you will not have visibility to the entire 2 miles. But with that lantern, you will see the next 10 steps. And then you take those 10 steps, and then the next 10, and then the next 10, and then the next 10, and that's how the journey goes. Now, if somebody says, I need answers to all of my questions, and then only I'll start with this journey. It's as good as saying that I will wait for all the signals to turn green before I will step out of my house, just being very, very unrealistic and being naive. So this is a very important concept on the path of spirituality, where Swamiji has so beautifully said that spiritual journey is to move from understanding to understanding and not from doubt to doubt. Okay. Some people have one doubt and then they're stuck, and then another doubt stuck. No, it's a journey from understanding to understanding. Something is clear, make use of that knowledge, and then the next piece of knowledge would come, and the next, and the next, and the next, and before you realize you have no more knowledge. There's no need for knowledge. Now it's just about doing things on a day-to-day basis, right? And even otherwise, there's an argument that a soul presents to the God. Soul says, you grace me, I'll break all the records and surrender. God says, you surrender and then I'll grace you. Soul says, no, first grace me and then I'll surrender. So God says, first of all, you make use of the graces that you have gotten, and then I'll grace you further. You cannot ask for more grace until you have utilized the grace that is already given to you. Right? It's like being that greedy person who's getting something. Now, without using that thing, he's asking for more. First, utilize the graces that you have gotten, and then God says, I'll bestow more of it. There's no limit of fund that God has. So nevertheless, let's get started in the topic today. Hope this gives a bit of food for thought, food for soul as well. Now let's move on. So this is the verse we are talking about, extremely popular verse, that even the school children in India, they are very familiar with it. Like this talks about the Karm Yog 2.47, worthy of thinking and contemplating and practicing 24/7. Okay, and 24/7 by 366 in leap year and 365 in other years. Okay, now this basically has 4 tenets to it. Do your duty, but do not concern yourself with the results. This is the first one. We have already spoken about it, but happy to talk about it if any question comes up again. That's the first one that we spoke about. The next one is the fruit of your actions are not for your enjoyment. This is a very important concept. Why the fruit of your actions are not for your enjoyment? Right? This just has that paradigm shift. Everything that we do is like, okay, I want to enjoy. Now, are you telling me that you're not supposed to enjoy your hard work as well? Because you get some fruit when we do some prayatn, endeavor, effort. It's with an expectation of something that you are going to have, that you had always thought about. And your corporate culture here, investor circle, they say enjoy your success, build on, right? All that concept is there. So it is counterintuitive to that. And that is what we are going to talk about today. And then fruits of your actions are not. And then the third one is, even while working, give up the pride of doership. We'll not take it today, maybe in the next session. And then do not be attached to inaction. This part, these are the 4 tenets of Karm Yog. So let's get started. Now, the fruits of your actions are not for your enjoyment is what we are going to focus on today. Now, to perform actions is an integral part of human nature. Having come into this world, we have duties depending upon our family situation, the social position, occupation, etc. Now, what this verse is saying, that you are not the enjoyers of the fruit. They are meant for the pleasure of God, right? This is a very revolutionary concept. Immediately our mind will rebel. What kind of a boring life would that be if I have to offer everything to God? In the mind, of course. Now, what else can you do? So let's understand this a little bit more analytically. Now, let's understand this whole creation, right? I'm going to get into that a little bit more. This is the analytical enumeration of the 24 elements from Purush to Prakriti to soul. They get bound in it. Now, how does they get bound? Let's talk about this concept. So if you look at this, you've seen this table before, right? So what happens is Purusha, the supreme God, that is the Purusha entity. We have spoken about this. He glances at Prakriti, right? Which is the material nature. And when he glances at Prakriti, then there is a halchal or a movement that starts. And what happens with that movement? The Mahan Tattva is created. And through Mahan, what comes? Ahamkar Tattva comes. This Ahamkar is not the Ahankar, as we know, the pride. This is Ahankar Tattva. And through the Ahankar Tattva, the Panch Tanmatras are created. Panch Tanmatras are what? The sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. It starts with sound. Okay, the sound. Even in Bible, it says the first there was sound, right? And the word belonged to God, and the word was God. So the sound is the first thing that is created. Through sound, the touch is created. Through touch, form, taste, smell. How? Now, sound, the medium in which the sound travels is ether or sky. Sky or ether is the first element through which sound travels. And our universe is called Omkar universe, Om universe. The first syllable, the Bij mantra, or the first sound that was produced was Om. And everything else is a derivative of that. All the alphabets, all the languages, everything came out of that. And if you are perfectly able to silence your mind, all you can hear in this universe is the vibration of Om. Okay. When Modi ji has asked to build that thali, right, during COVID, so that sound was the other sound that was heard along with Om. Other than that, there's only Om. Okay, I'm just kidding. So the point here is sound was created first, ether, and then ether, through ether, the compression of ether resulted in air. Now air, ether, you cannot see, touch, taste anything, right? And then Brahmaji's God's technology is such that through ether, he created air. Now you at least feel. Air you can feel when it goes against your body, but you cannot see air. So then compression of air, he created fire. You can see fire. Agni Devta is the Pratyaksh Sakshi Devta, one of the few Devtas you can see. And that is why so many things, even the marriages happen around Agni. The witness, you make Agni Devta the witness to those things. Okay. Agni ko Sakshi man ke, like they say that. So fire, now it has, you can see that, but you cannot taste it. So then compression of fire becomes water. Anything and everything that you taste in your body, basically through your tongue, it has to first mix with your saliva, which is water. So that's why God says, even the taste in water is me. Then came the water, but water you cannot smell, right? Unless it is rose water or something. Then came the earth. So earth is a compression of water. Earth encapsulates all the 5 elements. So all these elements that are created, if you trace it back, the Panch Tanmatras, elements are created from Panch Tanmatras, and then Panch Tanmatras are created from Hamkar, that is created from Mahan, and then Mahan comes from Prakriti, and Prakriti is set into motion by God. Now, God is the ultimate CEO of everything, of this entire creation. That means this entire creation is meant to serve God. It's a very simple rule. If somebody is an entrepreneur, they create a company, what's the job of everybody in that company? To serve the entrepreneur. And in the process of serving that entrepreneur or the company or the organization, they get served as well. It's a very simple principle. Now, in this case, God has created that. Now, he is known to be the supreme enjoyer, but he's not miserly. Let's understand first technically, when we say God is supreme enjoyer, he enjoys that position by virtue of being at the top of the hierarchy. This whole creation is orchestrated by him, by a mere glance. Now, what happens is the Jeev, it inserts itself in this hierarchy, Jivatma, and tries to enjoy Prakriti. What we are trying to do right now is enjoy Prakriti, which becomes Bhog. And in that process, we do end up doing binding karma, and it does not lead us to the liberation from the clutches of Maya that we are seeking. Now, you are inserted yourself instead of serving God, which is our constitutional position. We are started taking a position of being an enjoyer. It's like a servant coming to his master's home and trying to relish things. Even in the world, it will not work. Right? Now, God being all compassionate, he says, okay, that's fine, but you will have to incur binding karma, and we have been willing to pay that price lifetime after lifetime. That is why we are keeping on repeating here. Now, how does it work? You say, okay, you have inserted yourself, so you say, so what do I do? God says you have to relinquish the fruits of your action. And when you do that, what happens, we'll get to that as well. Of course, it is counterintuitive. What will happen when you do that? Is God miserly? What is going to do with the fruit of the actions? Why does he need it to begin with, right? All these questions we'll tackle. So let's understand, when we are part of this whole system, right? This whole system is created by God. And it is basically by virtue of that, he becomes a master of this, right? So the soul, as Bhagavad Gita 15.7 says, that the individual soul is a tiny part of God. God says, Mame Vansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That, and then he says, Mana Shasthani Indriyani. He says that you are my internal fragmental part, but under the influence of your mind and your five senses, you have started thinking of yourself as an enjoyer. Basically, it has deluded you. Okay. So, in that sense, when everything God is a master of the creation. Let's look at the nature example of nature only. All moving and non-moving things are his servants. How are they servants? Look at it. Everything is actually serving the whole ecosystem. If you look at it, the plants, they are purifying the air, the earthworms are improving the fertility of the soil, the ocean currents are carrying all the molecules that we breathe day in and day out. So everything is working in a very perfect system, and end of the day serving God. But when we take the reverse position of maximizing our enjoyment and hoarding things for ourselves and making bhog as the agenda of our life, then it becomes a reverse of spiritual consciousness, right? And then you, rather than treating God as an owner and the enjoyer, we start thinking of ourselves as the owner and the enjoyer. And that selfless servant aspect goes for a toss completely. And then whatever we are bestowed upon, we don't use it as to the service of God. Then we start accruing the binding karma, and that makes our undoing. It's a bit like, let's understand this concept like a hand and a stomach relationship. When we are ansh of something, our duty becomes to serve the anshi. Anshi relationship is what we have with God, like stomach and hand. If hand, as long as hand keeps feeding the stomach, serving the stomach, it will automatically keep on getting what it needs for its sustenance and nourishment. But if hand says enough of feeding the stomach, I'm going to subsist on my own, you think the hand, if it is severed from the body or from the stomach, can sustain itself? It cannot. So that is the consciousness, unfortunately, we have acquired in our conditioned state. We want to enjoy bereft of God consciousness. And Karm Yog is going to introduce that consciousness in our life. Okay, so God, when he's giving us this concept of Karm Yog, he's basically telling us, let me help you on how do you purify your task and start aligning to the purpose of this creation itself. Okay, so it's like a hand-stomach relationship. We keep on serving the stomach and we will automatically get what we need without being asking for it. Bin mange mile moti, mange mile na bhik. This is exactly the same concept. It's in giving you shall receive. The same concept that keeps on getting repeated in Bhagavad. You keep giving and you will keep receiving back, because end of the day, we come empty-handed, and by the system around us, we gain stuff, and then it's imperative or obligatory on us to give it back as well, because we have not created anything on our own. Everything we are gathering from people, environment, and stuff around us, which is nothing but God's creation for us. Everything is God has given us, right? So that consciousness is essentially what Karm Yoga is. So let's move on. Now, what do we do if we don't do it? Let's say you don't do it. I say, no, I'm going to enjoy the fruit of my action. That is what we are doing. That leads to this T that you are seeing. Which T? Anxiety. Okay. This is, if we keep on enjoying the fruits of our action, then it will give us anxiety. Now, the first tenet, when we say don't think about what gives us anxiety, when we have a certain expectation of the result, right? And when we want to enjoy it for ourselves, that stresses us out and that gives us anxiety. If you are doing it merely as a service of God, it will not give you an anxiety. You will simply do the best and leave the fruit for God or offer the results to God. That is what Karm Yoga is. Now, this whole anxiety, stress, worry, all that stuff is happening because we want to enjoy the fruit. If you think deep down, it is our desire to enjoy the fruit of that particular act that you are doing It could be in form of a material acquisition. It could be in form of fame. It could be in form of respect. It could be in form of, what will people think if I fail in this? Whatever it is you want to enjoy that fruit, and you make it as part of your endeavor that, okay, this is the fruit I need and it is for me. That brings us worry and anxiety, is what this shloka is telling us. Okay, so we need to start building that consciousness. Now, what happens when we try to enjoy? I'm going to give you some more reasons. The tendency to enjoy, where it leads us to. Okay, when you have this tendency to enjoy things for yourself, we think we need to reward it is fine, but that consciousness leads to some other problems as well. What are those things? Let's look at that. You get deeper into the material world. That is the first thing that happens, because now you think the bhukti aspect, by actually going for bhukti or this material world, one day you will be able to satiate yourself. It may give you temporary relief. Let's say you wanted to always have that, the next best car you wanted to have, or that gadget that you wanted to have, or that particular thing you always wanted to buy. For a momentary, it may douse the fire, but then it will come back with a redoubled intensity. So nobody has become satisfied by fulfilling a desire. You can mark it in golden words. It is like putting fuel to fire, is what our scriptures say. It's like your mind is tricking you. It's simply putting fuel to the fire and you will never get satiated. Right? We spoke about the concept even up to Brahmalok. People are afflicted with this desire. Right? But like there is a beautiful share Maharaj Ji has given that, desire, not, and there's a quote in English, and then I'll get to that particular desire share as well. He says that the person may become old, but that person's desire will always remain young. That is how desire works. Desire never goes old. Even if you become Indra, Swarg Samrat, still you will keep on desiring. You want the position of Vrahaspati or Brahma. And that desire continues, and it never gets satiated, because again, there's a technicality around it, because it's like you are fish out of water. All you need is water. No matter how many adornments you do externally, fish will say, I'm still need water. So we are divine. Until we get that divine bliss, our soul will say, you know what, I need something more. So the first problem that happens with the tendency, you get deeper into the material world, because your intellect says, I'm going to extract happiness. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. Maybe not with this thing I've gotten, but with that thing I will get. Or I'm not happy, somebody else is. So it will keep building that consciousness, or that facade, or that hallucination that there is happiness in this world. That is the first problem that will happen when you tend to enjoy and not offer the fruits to God. Start building that consciousness. Second thing that happens is further away from spiritual life, peace and happiness. Now your happiness is dependent upon things around, people around, situations around, circumstances around, right? Because you are putting you're playing your gamble in the world for happiness, right? You have a firm belief that if this thing I get, I'm going to be happy, or if this person changes, I'll be happy, or if my circumstance was different, I would have been happy. That belief, that intellect is not getting corrected. You are making your, what do you call that, disease even worse when you have that tendency. That is the second problem that happens. And you will go further away from peace. Third problem is binding karma. Reactions, you are accruing more reactions to your work, because if you do good deeds, that will give you celestial awards. If you do bad, it will give you nether regions. But both deeds are done with an intent to serve yourself, to enjoy. So both are binding. Whether you get good result, bad result, pap, punya, both become pap at that point, because it's going to give you binding result. End of the day, it's still not taking you closer to God. Right? Then what happens? Enslaved mindset. Enslaved mindset because now you have distributed the keys of your happiness to so many things around. You have not taken control over it. You have not even working towards taking control over it, because you have firm belief you are going to extract happiness from this world only. You have still not intellectually started shifting your paradigm towards that, you know what, this world has neither happiness nor sorrow. And putting your faith in this world, people, person, object, is a zero-sum game. It will never lead you to where you need to be. An enslaved mindset means now your happiness will continue to be a function of the behavior of people around and whether you get what you always thought you should get. So it will be a function of that. Okay, so that is another problem that will happen. And then hankering will continue. Hankering is an eternal enemy and self-destructive. Indulgence infects our psyche with indelible impressions that haunt us far beyond our present lifespans. This is a very important concept. What happens is the sanskar aspect of it as well. Every thought that our mind gets, we cannot say it is harmless. See, there are no free lunches in this world. And God says it's the same with regards to there are spiritual laws as well. Every thought that we bring to our mind, it leaves an indelible impression on our mind, which over time becomes our sanskar, which we have to live with, deal with in this life and lifetimes to come as well. So if you're not building good sanskars, you are doing yourself a big disservice. Why? Because those sanskars could actually be troubling you, haunting you beyond lifetime. So why to increase your homework when you have an opportunity? So that's another problem which comes with the tendency to do bhog or enjoy in this world. And then it's not sustainable. Mindset finally leads to misery. It will finally lead to misery. It is an akartya in Hindi, irrevocable, irrefutable law in spirituality. Nobody has become happy by trying to extract happiness from this world, because this world cannot offer it, right? Because lime water, it may look like milk, but you cannot extract butter out of it. It's a very simple principle. Scriptures are saying that, saints have said that. Now it's up to us to start correcting that conditioned mind gradually. Of course, it's a journey. It's not a unit step function where we will wake up as a saint. But that small incremental progress is all that is needed, where we start building, take a little bit of detachment from the world and start building that attachment with God. Or you don't even have to detach from world. If your attachment to the God has started increasing with an understanding that my self-interest that I have been seeking since multiple lifetimes will be served by God only, then automatically Vairagya will follow. Vairagya is a natural consequence of doing devotion, because bhakti we always need to go to this mother who has 2 sons and 1 servant. Who's that mother? Bhakti is the mother. Who are the 2 servants of bhakti? Gyan and Vairagya. When you do bhakti, knowledge and detachment will automatically come. It's a natural consequence of bhakti. And who's the maid servant of bhakti? Mukti. Okay, bhakti is the maid servant. Mukti rather. Mukti both. Mukti is a maid servant of bhakti. Bhakti, people who are in the path of devotion, they reject mukti also. So liberation is not their goal, because they align to a higher principle of being an eternal servant of God, which aligns them to their constitutional position and of course takes them to a far superior, higher quality of bliss, which is being an associate of God eternally. That is the result of bhakti as well. So this tendency to enjoy, which we are talking about bhakti, leads to all these problems. And that is what Lord Krishna is saying. You need to subside. You need to start offering the fruits. Don't think of yourself to be an enjoyer. Now, God is not miserly. What you get in return when you start following this practice in your head is a far more superior kind of bliss and peace that we have never gotten by enjoying the things that we always thought are for our enjoyment. Okay, that is a matter of experience. Right? Bhagavad Gita principles, when you start building that mindset, just ride that. It's not an easy thing, right? When success comes our way, a little bit of it gets into our head, right? For some, it can get into their head big time, but that heady feeling of thinking I am the doer and I have done something great, that is what God is saying. Put it into perspective immediately, because you are not the doer. Right? That feeling, if you can say, and people, they celebrate overnight and they will continue celebrating for a week as if something big has happened, that is not how it's meant to be. So God says, if you simply ride that feeling, and similarly at the time of when things are not well, just ride that feeling as well, because both the feelings are temporary. So offer the fruit to God and move on to the next thing, and then you can take your skills and what you can accomplish to a different level altogether, as opposed to capping it. So first of all, we are artificially inserting ourselves in that entire hierarchy, of being the of supreme enjoyer is God, and then we are inserting ourselves saying we are going to enjoy, so that is going to lead us to binding karma. Secondly, this game of enjoyment that we are playing in this world, we have already seen what all happens. Nobody can say, no, I have become happy. If somebody has, then they have cracked the code of the scriptures. Basically they have accomplished something which is not possible. It's impossible. Our saints are saying, scriptures are saying, just not possible. And there are 3 stages in our life: learn, earn, and return. Okay, this is the mindset one need to have. What happens is we learn, earn, and then hoard, and we think now we are going to enjoy. Actually, this is a time to return. Okay, as much as we can, because we have gotten from the world. So that mindset always helps. And offering what all, when we start having a mindset of offering the fruits to God, let's see what are the benefits that happen. Of course, believing in God is strengthened further, because we can offer it to somebody only when we believe in them, right? So that aspect, or that relationship that we have with God, is deepened further. What else happens? Faith in God's instruction that it is for our good only, because now your experience will start telling you, it is much better than otherwise, where I used to think it is for my enjoyment, because it used to be a temporary feeling. Now that peace and that confidence and other things that you get when you do that are much more deeper and nuanced, and only a matter of experience, where you are much more at peace, as opposed to having an agitated mind for a temporary period of time, which we call enjoyment. Okay. Now, by the way, this whole worldly enjoyment that we call truly enjoyment is not happiness. It is an agitated state of mind, temporary agitated state of mind that we think as bliss. Okay? That is why some people feel very relaxed when they dance, because at that time their mind is not thinking anything, right? So they think at that point it gives them a feeling of calmness, because their mind, it's kind of a meditative state to get into. So we need to unburden our mind, and then it makes it just easy. Now it takes us understanding our own constitutional position. It will bring in humility also. You are not going to play it in your head when somebody pats you, well done. You again understand the big picture around it. End of the day, you are a part and parcel of God, and your constitutional position is to serve Him. Now let me not insert myself and take on the position of a master here, because then I'm going to violate that spiritual law, and then the everlasting peace that I'm seeking for will again go further away from me. Okay. So it will bring in that humility also, that I'm an eternal servant of God. The next, believing that it's in giving we shall receive. Of course, this is a concept we keep on reading. English quotations are there, right? It's in giving you shall receive. So if not anything, you'll become a better person too. What else? Believing that we don't have proprietorship over anything at all. We don't have a proprietorship anything, right? We think our money is for our enjoyment. We think our relationships are for our enjoyment. All that thing, why does it happen? Because we have a sense of proprietorship. It belongs to me, right? For money, we said that is the mindset. We should have a mindset of treating Lakshmi as a daughter, as opposed to somebody that is for your bhog, right? Ravan considered Sita something for his own enjoyment. That is why he abducted her. And Janak considered Sita because he was as a father. So when you consider things as a mere as a mere caretaker of something, then this whole sense of enjoying the fruit will also go away. Then you are doing it with a sense of, you don't have a sense of proprietorship over it. It's like, okay, it belongs to somebody else. I am a mere caretaker, right? And if I'm doing something, end of the day, the fruit goes to my master only, right? You don't consider of enjoying that fruit for yourself. It's like a cashier in a bank. When they are counting the notes, they deal with so much of wealth. At any point, do they have that sense, oh my God, I've gotten so much of money? They know it doesn't belong to them. They're completely detached to it, right? Because it belongs to somebody, it belongs to the organization, to the bank and somebody else. Same thing. It doesn't belong to you. There was a story, right? How do you let go of this sense of proprietorship? This mind thing is actually making you bind. This my relation, the same thing we extend to our kids also, that they belong to me and they need to give me happiness and they should do this for me, that to me. End of the day, first they belong to God before they belong to us. So we forget that part of it, right? So there's a beautiful story just to drive home that point around proprietorship of Samarth Das and Shivaji. Right? He was his guru, Samarth Das, and one day he was sitting on his balcony and he saw him begging on the street. So he thought, I'm a king and my guru is begging. How unbecoming of me, as a king, that my guru has to beg. So he goes to his guru and says, it's my misfortune that you have to beg here. Ask me, what can I give you? He said, no, I don't have to beg. I do that so that I can, go around and engage people and impart some spiritual knowledge to them. And that is why I do that. He said, nevertheless, you are my, guru. So here is my entire, what can I offer to you? So basically he said that, okay, he said, then offer, basically, he didn't ask for it, but Shivaji says, you know what? I'm going to write this, my entire kingdom, and I offer it to your lotus feet. So he puts that in his bowl. He writes that my kingdom belongs to you. So he looks at it, his guru looks at it, and he says, you know what? Okay, now it belongs to me. Fair point. But I give it back to you. Now you go run it as a king, as a trustee, as opposed to being an owner, because now it belongs to me. So Shivaji continued to serve his kingdom after that, more as a caretaker, as opposed to thinking of it as something that he owns. So mindset change. He's still ruling, he's still doing the same stuff. So Karm Yog means you continue to work. It's not that you stop working, but the fruits are for your pleasure. And when you do that, of course, you will put in your best. Now, when you're thinking you are an employee of God, and whatever skills you are bringing to the fore, it's for his pleasure, of course. You're going to do your best around that work. And then that best will not be accompanied with stress, because now it's like, okay, I'm going to put in my best, but the results are in your hand. So that is another aspect that comes in as well. And then develop spirit of austerity. Sacrifice purifies. You will understand to let go of it as well. Not for me. That consciousness itself is so purifying. Right? We want to enjoy the very first thing that we get, right? The first salary and the first thing, that is good actually. But then when you start offering it, okay, God, it's basically my fruit. I will earn more so that I can give more. He's not saying you don't anything. Do yourself, whatever is needful for you. Of course, you have to take care of yourself. But that mindset of bhog, we need to gradually start reducing towards yoga. Essentially, that is the message here. Why? For your own good. What happens if you don't do that? We have already seen that. We get deeper into the world. We are doing binding karma. We are deepening our sanskars, which we'll have to fight with in later lifetimes and even in these lifetimes, and all the other things which takes us further away from spirituality. Or we will doing dilly-dallying in spirituality, 2 steps forward, 1 backward, 5 forward, 6 backwards. That stuff will continue. So God is saying, start gradually reducing that aspect and start increasing the other part of it, keeping that big picture in mind. So this is essentially what we were supposed to cover today. So let's look at some of the examples, right? How can we practice it in a practical sense? When we take success, let's say we get selected, promoted, hitting a lottery, material success, such as successful entrepreneur. These are some of the scenarios we encounter, right? When we work hard towards something and get the desired results, when someone praises us, when we get acknowledged by people around us, how do you bring that part? Now you can actually offer it to God and, through gratitude. You express gratitude to God for giving me the strength, wisdom, ability. He's only endowed us with that, right? It's not our creation. And then utilize it for higher purpose and larger goal. Don't just limit it to our puny desires. Fulfilling our desires is not a big deal. That is puny desires anyways, right? See how we can utilize it for a higher purpose, whatever we bring to the table. And of course, a gratitude to God, because for becoming his instrument. Right? It's like he's given us, endowed us with all these abilities, and whatever I can do, it's for your pleasure, God, and thank you for that. And when we say that, he'll give us more of that. It reminds me of Lata Mangeshkar, who used to say every time I would step on before, for a recording or for singing, I would always express gratitude to God for giving me this voice through which I can bring happiness to so many people around. And she said, I would never take it for granted. What if God, if I don't utilize the gift in proper consciousness for the right reasons, what if that gift is taken away from me? It is such a big humility, and throughout her life she continued to do that. I don't think she used to wear sandals or slippers when she would step on for recording, because she used to consider it as her temple. That is a mindset and a consciousness, right? Somebody can have. And when you do that, you draw more of God's grace. God gives you more of those talents, more of those abilities, so that you can take it to the next level. But when we utilize those for just for our sake, that's when it starts getting capped. Okay, that is the beauty of offering the fruits to God, because then he will take you closer to your infinite potential. But when we limit it to our bhog, we are capping ourselves, not God. We are binding his hands by doing binding karma at that point. And then realize that when somebody is praising you, realize you are an instrument, that just an instrument that God chooses occasionally to manifest, but a spark of his splendor. You may end up doing something good, great, helping somebody. But instead of taking a ride on your ego, offer it to God. That God, you have chosen me as an instrument at this particular occasion. Thank you for that. I wish I can live up to your expectations even in future. That's all, and move on. Because when somebody praises you, you are in great danger. You are in great danger at that moment. Why? Because your ego can take a ride. And when somebody is criticizing you, you are perfectly safe. So, person who is a devotee or on a spiritual path never shies away from criticism. It's like, bring it on. It's an opportunity to, first of all, neutralize my ego, false pride, and secondly, to work on myself. They look upon it as an opportunity. On the other hand, people with material consciousness, they're always fishing for compliments, and they stay away from criticism. It's like, oh my God, how can this person say that? So just the opposite, the paradigm shift that is needed. And then direct it to whom it truly belongs. It's a thieving mindset, stealing mindset as well, if we don't give credit to God for all the good things that are happening to us. So it's a great consciousness to have. So that is essentially what it means when you offer the fruit to God, and not start hyping up your own image in your head, right? We'll talk about self-respect and self-esteem also in greater detail in one of the sessions, because this question comes up. Okay, then what about my self-respect, self-esteem, if everything is God, God, God you're talking about? We'll talk about that, put it in perspective. So that is pretty much it. I'll take a quick pause here. Any questions on what we have discussed? I know we have quite a few announcements today. By the way, good news or bad news, I don't know. But yeah, news is that all the Seva presentations, you'll get more time, 15 more days. We'll do it after the retreat and after Janmashtami. So you get more time to prepare. Sandhya is going to talk about the timeline and some of the rules that we have to stick to for those presentations, because if we had unlimited time, then we could have done it for across multiple sessions, but it's like, let's make it power packed within a time constraint and some of the other things. So, but before that, any questions on what we have spoken before we get into that?
Okay, Nitinji, there was a question early on when the session started in the chat. It was about from Manjuji about, can you elaborate on what is not attached to inaction? But I think you're going to cover it later, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, not attached to inaction. I'm going to cover it in when we get to that. But let me quickly do the inaction means that not doing something, procrastinating something, or not doing the needful, hoping that the thing will go away by itself, right? That is something condemned by Lord Krishna. So don't wish away things, take action.
All right.
Don't procrastinate things. Don't fall for laziness, slothness. All those things are strongly condemned. That can take your journey backwards.
Vikas, Radhe Radhe, go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Sir, you told that when someone praises, you are in great danger. So what should we do?
When somebody praises, immediately, it's like immediately bring this knowledge to your head that, somebody might be praising you today. Be ready. And what if tomorrow they criticize? This is also temporary. And if they have seen something good in you, it's just a spark of God's splendor in you. So you don't take credit for that. So accept it, digest it, and move on, and leave it there only, rather than taking it to your head and inflating your ego because of it. Tomorrow
Today in the today in the morning, one uncle came and said कि you are a very nice person and you मतलब कि you talk with everyone and everybody, मतलब बहुत बड़े बड़े लोग आते हैं तुम्हारे पास, वो बात करने लगते हैं ऐसे करके, तो फिर मैं क्या करूं उनसे?
उनको बोलो, it takes a nice person to know thank you very much, accept it gracefully and continue to work on it. What if tomorrow he says you are not a nice person? Are you going to feel upset about it?
No, he is my uncle, so he can't say no.
Use it as a motivation to go even further, right? Tony, look at that. I like that. When I'd seen that movie, his father had said that don't let any of the praise go to your head, right? And he stuck to that principle. He keeps on saying even now in his interviews. So any praise, if you, as long as you are not able to putting it in your head, you are fine. But always keep that knowledge, because when somebody is praising you, there's always a potential for you to slip spiritually very quickly. In fact, if somebody praises and you take it, it shields. Let me put another spin to it. It actually erodes some of your punyas also if you're riding that. Okay, so fastest way to exhaust your punyas is to keep on taking praise and enjoying it and relishing it. Be very careful. Put it there only. Thank you very much. Don't even let it get into your head. Then after a while, it will become your habit. Practice, mindful practice. So always be very cautious when people are praising you. All right, Rahul.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yesterday, I was able to attend a Arangetram ceremony, which is a graduation ceremony for Bharatanatyam. So one of the things which I liked there, because it is related to this concept, it started with gratitude to God and Guru and ended with God and Guru. And in between also, those 5 to 6 dances, in each of them, there was element of either our Thakurji, Shri Krishna or Shri Ram. So that dance was also related to that. So nothing is complete without them, and it started and ended with them only. Yeah, that was super nice, and now I can correlate.
A devotee has the sentiment because of you, for you, by you, kind of a deal, right? So yeah, that will take us. See, spirituality, another definition of spirituality is humility. Humility is actually the cornerstone or the foundational stone of spirituality. So when somebody praises you, they are directly attacking that aspect of yours. Okay, and you have to have a shield in your head ready for that, because humility is the adharshila or the basis of devotion. So then when somebody starts praising you, that is under siege, under attack at that point. So be careful about it around that. And humility is spirituality basically. And humility is nothing, it's not a great, it is a virtue, of course, but we have made it a virtue because we are in a conditioned state. Humility is simply accepting who you are. If you think deeply about it, it's simply accepting who you are. Who are we? Pretty tiny, insignificant person, right? However, having said that, we have the potential to blaze like a forest fire, even though we are a spark, because God's power is with us. When we start aligning to His will, when we start aligning to the spiritual principles, we have like infinite potential to be like God. So both thoughts you have to keep in mind. But truly, if you look at it, we are nothing. Our existence is also nothing, right? If God decides to move out of our soul, who's the super soul, we are nothing. No vajood, nothing, no existence. So he's our prana vallabh. So humility is something, simply accepting who we are with deeper contemplation, of course. Yes, Seema and Monica ji, good to see you together. So Laddu Guddu have shifted to Mona and Laddu.
Laddu and Mona.
Yeah, is missing her sister, I believe. You're not having any company today, right? Yeah. No power. Yes, go ahead, please. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So, Nitinji, what should be our response to self-praising people? There are a lot of people around who continue to praise themselves, right? Even if we don't. We make faces also, but at the same time, should we participate? Should we correct them, or should we avoid them? What do we do? And we cannot avoid these people. I mean, they're like part of your maybe friend circle or.
Actually, if you look at it, that Shishtastakam, beautiful verse that it says, Trinadapi Sunichen Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanena manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So giving respect to other is good, but false flattery is not. You are not being a good friend if you are,
Yes.
flattering them just for the sake of it. In fact, a good friend would probably, I won't say point out faults and stuff like that, but keep them in check. Parents always do that. Teachers also do that. They know the potential of a student, and then they don't, hype them up because they know it can get into their head. So as a friend, also, I think maybe you could assume a role of playing that checks and balance kind of a thing. Then you are actually helping them, being a true friend, as opposed to being surrounded by people who are only flattering you. What's the point? Right?
But
So
I've tried that, but they are not my friends anymore.
maybe it was never meant to be then. We call it anarth nivritti in spirituality. Okay.
Okay, Bhaiya.
You've got to be a little tactical, but I would not flatter somebody just for the sake of it. Why would I give poison to somebody, right?
Right. But Netanji, these are those people who flatter themselves in front of you. So should we be neutral?
Yeah, I mean, you can be neutral, or if they, I mean, you take a call on that, right? If I'm in your place, I will double it, okay, for them. Until they feel a little awkward about this.
Got it. Okay.
Depends on how you want to deal with it. For me, sometimes this principle of steer along with the skid works. Okay. When somebody starts making fun of you, I join them. Okay. Then they stop. Or when they start, doing their own thing, then you add to it and take it to another level where they think, no, I didn't mean so high. I just meant this much. So then it puts a check immediately. So whatever works for you.
No. I got it. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Actually, I had a related follow-up question. When it's not about unnecessary flattering, but when you are really inspired by some people, your associates, so is it wrong to praise them and compliment them and thank them, thinking that maybe this might
It's
boost
a
their
good,
ego? Or
no, it's a good habit, in fact, to compliment people. And in fact, Daniel Peel, I was reading a book. He's one of the Americans. He's written a very good book. He said, do that because it brings in positivity in you as well. As long as your intent is to feel inspired, that's
Right.
perfect. The intention behind that, when people pick it up, whom you converse with regularly, they'll get it. But if somebody is just doing it for the sake of it, then you got to be careful around it.
Got it. And there's just one question in the chat, somewhat unrelated, but to be remembered for future. If you can explain the meaning of Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram someday. So this is from GKG. Yeah.
Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Okay. Those three CEOs I know, but yeah, we will get into it as well. Sure. We can talk about that as the opportunity presents during Bhagavad Gita for sure. Thank you, GK. GK, where are you joining us from?
It's in chat, so maybe you can raise hand if you're around.
You can raise hand, or maybe you can type in. Would love to know more about you. Okay, we can take a few hands, and you wanted to make some announcements, Sandhya. Let's make that quickly, and then we can take hands and move to our next segment as well. But thank you, everybody, and feedback tracker, please post it. We haven't posted it last session
No,
as well.
I have posted it a couple of times, and I have also posted the announcements. First, let's talk about the Seva announcements, Nitinji.
Sure.
So we were supposed to have the Leela presentations, as you all know, which were supposed to start today. But as Nitinji announced, we have postponed them for after 2 weeks. But if there is any team who would like to present now due to whatever constraints, they are welcome to.
Welcome to continue to stick to the schedule if you want. If you're already prepared, please feel free and let us know.
Yeah, we can coordinate in the background. And just to clarify to everybody, we will have 10 minutes presentation plus 5 minutes discussion around it with the audience. So not more than that. Let's try to stick it to that time schedule.
The reason we are saying 10 minutes is because typically what I've seen in our past presentations, we should leave before people say, oh my God, when are they going to leave? Okay, rather than
I
leave.
want more.
Yeah, so basically we should leave and people are saying, okay, we want more to, a little more to see what they are presenting, as opposed to leave and they're saying, okay, we've had enough. So 10 minutes is an optimum time. If it's more than 10 minutes, then there's something, and then that will give us ample time for back and forth and reflecting on that particular presentation as well, and questions from people as well. So 10 minutes is optimal.
Okay, so and I wanted to share the weekly scoreboard. Can I quickly do that?
No, you cannot. Sorry.
Thank you. I'll do now.
Yeah, I'm going to stop here. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Is that?
So, Anita ji, if I would see, I have got some siddhis, and I have a feeling that. Okay, let's look at it.
Okay, you can see the screen, Nitinji?
Yes.
Right. So we see a lot of green this time. Looks like Vinamra team has been pretty active this week.
Oh, nice.
However, as always, one particular thing which makes Ananya team lead, and which is great actually, which is very inspiring. So yeah, Ananya, Vinamra, enthusiastic and selfless. All of them have been active, but I see mostly Vinamra team everywhere. Yeah, and I think I can say in likes, Prabhat Bhaiya had been leading. In shares, Anita ji as expected. Comments, Sairam ji. Community portal, Sumanta ji. I think he has been very consistently active for a very long time. I applaud that. And Chikki Urf Kavita is leading the content creation aspect. She has been a great support for Insta along with many others. So yeah, so the topmost scorer is Anita ji. So cheers and thank you everybody.
Anita ji's score looks like, Gulliver versus Lilliput kind of a thing. So
That's right.
okay, that's nice. Thank you everybody for all the enthusiastic participation now, and we are all eagerly looking forward to the presentations as well. We have time, so take your time.
And they are going to turn the scoreboard upside down. I mean, they will carry a lot of weightage.
Yes. And this Thursday, by the way, is going to be picture day.
Photo day.
Photo day for it.
Last Thursday of our month, where we will click the class photo. So everybody is requested to keep their cameras on, especially on that day. So just quickly the announcements, I've already posted them. We have the Dallas Spiritual Retreat coming up from September 2nd to 4th. If you haven't yet registered, do register. You can attend it online as well as offline. It's not to be missed opportunity. So do check that out. I have posted the link. Then we have Janmashtami, the birthday celebrations, the grand birthday celebrations, I think over a span of 4 days at the Radhakrishna temple. So yeah, there's many exciting events lined up during those festivities. And feedback tracker, I've already posted the link. So please put in your comments, questions, and Nitinji will look into it and get back to you. So that's all, Nitinji, about announcements. So we can get back to the questions.
Sure. Pooja, please go ahead. See her raising hand.
Yeah, good to ji, Pooja ji, Radhe Radhe. I'm unable to unmute her for some reason. Can you try, Nitinji?
Oh, I think you've done something that you're not giving us the power to unmute you.
Yeah. Do you want to rejoin?
Yeah, you may want to rejoin. Try it out. Yes, Prabhat, in the meantime, you may want to rejoin.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Okay. So basically, if someone praises, then there are three things that comes to my mind. Like first, we have to analyze like whether it is to boost our ego. Second, it may be that the person liked that particular thing that we have done. Then there are chances that person is having inclination towards that particular thing. Like if we have done something in terms of doing some seva and someone is appreciating that, so it means that person also have such kind of inclination towards that particular seva, and then we can also help that particular person. We can guide that these are the things, and if they want, they can also join that particular. And third, is
And it reflects on the person also. See, just to add on, Prabhat, then you can complete your third thing. It reflects on the person as well. People who are able to see good, right, for genuine reasons, they are pure themselves as well. Then only they can do that, right? Otherwise, it's easy for our mind to gravitate more towards the faults of people. So if you have that thing, that's a good thing. So So you just appreciate the purity in them as well, right? It's an opportunity to reflect on that as well. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, finish your thought. I think you were saying some third thing is.
Yeah. So basically, the third one is like if someone is praising, then there is also one thing like we can take how we can take it forward. Like Jamatji, when he praised Hanumanji and let him know about his strength, then he used that particular strength in serving Ramkaj. He flied to that Lanka and he has done the great things. So we can also take it forward. How can we take it forward and how can we use it for the better purpose?
Other way of looking at it is, then you look at it in perspective that, you know what, if people see that in you, that means you have to live up to those ideals. So you better keep on improving yourself. That is another way to look at that part, as opposed to thinking, oh my God, you know. So there are multiple ways to keep yourself motivated to, you know, keep becoming a better version of yourself, and not rest on your laurels, and keep it at the back of your mind. I just like that example of, you know, Radha Mangeshkar, because see, anything that is given to you by God is given for a purpose. And if you don't keep that big picture in mind, then all those things can be snatched away in a moment. Then what's the point? Right? What's the point? You may have some gift that God has given you, and if you're not utilizing it for His service to the best of your abilities, then there's no guarantee you will have that gift. What if that gift is taken away one day? Great. Thank you, Prabhat, for sharing that. Now let's move on to, yes, Rahul, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, yeah, Rahulji.
Yes, Vikas will come back. We'll go to people once who haven't gotten an opportunity to ask, and then we'll come back again. Yes.
Just wanted to add for the Dallas spiritual, but now the online registrations are also open. Yeah. So if somebody is sitting in Delhi, they can't complain that they can't participate. Yeah. So everybody should be able to register. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, if you're sitting in Delhi or New York or any other part of the world, including Moon, everybody can join. Yes, sir. Ajit ji, you wanted to say something? And then Shriram, yeah.
Yeah, Ajit ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Nitin ji.
We are able to unmute Pooja, so after this you can talk. Yes, Ajit ji.
I'm happy to say that you have taken this verse when India has achieved a big, marvelous accomplishment, landing on the moon.
Right.
So my question is that earlier, in the first time itself, we landed on Mars and make a record. This time we had a failure earlier, and based on that, our scientist has prepared fully so that they should have the 100% success. In over and above, all spiritual leaders, all gurus, they have done the Havan, Puja, and pray to God as well that this mission should be successful. And we got it. So what do you say about it? That this verse, Gita, says that you don't have right on your success result after doing all your karmas, duties, but you need a grace of God as well.
True. See, very true. So God will grace, right? Hard work pays, but then God knows what is the opportune moment for that, right? Maybe He wanted us to the sign to learn and do much harder. That's why Chandrayaan 2 failed. And that is why Chandrayaan 3 is a resounding success. You know, the other day I was reading that the budget in which they did that was half the budget of the Bollywood movie that had come, Interstellar, right? So the Hollywood movie rather. So it was done. It's kind of nothing short of a miracle. Russia has crash landed so many, you know, they have technologies, and they were able to do it immaculately. That too to the South Pole, where you don't get sun, and there are so many other factors that nobody even tries to take that, and they had forecasted. So yes, God does grace hard work around it. And then if you look at some of the comments of that the ISRO scientist whose name is Somanath, which means a lot of he's saying that he takes a lot of inspiration from our scriptures, Vedas himself. And he's a big believer, and you should read some of the stuff that he's writing. So God does reward hard work around it, and then God knows when to give us a little bit of a jolt as well, especially when He knows we can do better. That's probably why this has become such a great success. But yeah, it has been a very, what you call that, proud moment for the entire nation and for the entire scientific community to pull off this kind of a feat. Amazing feat, to say the least. And there'll be so many stories that will come out. I'm sure there'll be a movie that will come out of it as well, right? How they pulled it off. So many countries have failed who have had a head start in the space program, and the way they did it was amazing in such a small budget. Thank you, Ajitji. And yes,
one more comment, the observation from my side, that in the interpretation of the verse, you have mentioned the entitlement. Actually, it should be the expectations. The reason behind you are entitled for the success and praise as well, but you should not expect. That is the meaning, I believe, the God want to convey.
entitlement means, see, after this, now what the country does with that matters a lot, right? Now, I think Modi, he had called it as a success of the world. Now you look at the big picture part of it. Now, if India starts becoming arrogant and start making loose statements and sits on its laurel, then it's a problem. But if you actually utilize it to serve humanity and to push the humanity forward with the technological advance, then I think it's a good spot to be in. Entitled, when you say that, entitled means you should not stake a claim for that I did it or we did it kind of a deal, right? Now, this is more at a macro level, country can country do Karm Yog? I don't know, but as an individual, they can take their call. People who have tasted success in that, in what mindset do they take would dictate whether they become arrogant with this, or are they going to proceed further in their quest for perfection, technological perfection, as they will take some more initiatives in the future as well, right? So it really depends on how those people, those scientists, they take this forward. And then if it leads to pride or something like that, which is a sense of entitlement, then it can cause problems. So Karm Yog principle in this case would say that don't sit on your laurels, basically, and then give the credit where it's due, because it's all God's. End of the day, He enables us to think smartly, think like that, and then keep moving forward.
Okay, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
And actually, just to add a tidbit, was like Chandrayaan 2 also wasn't really a complete failure. They ended up establishing the orbiter, which helped in the soft landing this time. So, every step really helps towards the success.
This time they did paranoid testing. Anything could go wrong kind of a deal. They did so much of destructive failure testing that they were, equipped to handle all kind of emergencies, which is a lot of learning that they took forward.
And yeah, from the Karm Yog perspective, there's long way to go. They've just gotten the lander there now. So much data, so much to learn. So there's a huge journey ahead. So they can focus on that. Yeah. Okay. I guess Pooja ji, now if we can, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya, Radhe Radhe Nitinji. Nitinji, at times we come across people who, instead of appreciating you, they give you heat. They give you a lot of heat, and they try to create disturbing environment around you. They'd either try and put you down in front of others, or they would, pick you on small things. They would not appreciate you. So how do we deal with such people?
There's that bhajan, right, Maharaj ji? अब और अधिक चमकेगा सोना, पुनि पुनि अग्नि तपाने से. Anyways, that's more of a spiritual concept, but yeah, you will deal with people. End of the day, when you get heat, right, it's an opportunity to sparkle more as well. A bad day for ego is a good day for the soul. Now you take a call. Is it something? What is getting disturbed? Is it because of your ego you're getting disturbed, or is there's another option? Some people are generally negative, right? They like doing that. Then you can avoid those people. You don't have to hate them. But if it is something that might be something for you to reflect upon, or take a beating on your ego for your spiritual upliftment, then that could be an opportunity as well. But you don't have to deal with people who are generally putting you down in front of others and stuff like that. But our resilience to such responses should increase over time, because for saints also the world was same. They also had to face a lot of adversities around, but they dealt with it, the way they saw it was more like an opportunity, as opposed to something that would disturb them or make them, feel, oh my God, lending mind space to people, things that they say. So we need to get above that as well. Otherwise, there's no dearth of people, right, who would be doing that. There is a share, right? It says that what was that? Maybe I'll recollect it. एक ढूंढो तो हजार. कम अक्लों की कमी नहीं गालिब, एक ढूंढो तो हजार मिलते हैं, right? And Maharaj Ji actually tweaked it. He says कम लोग अक्लों की कमी नहीं गालिब, बिना ढूंढे भी हजार मिलते हैं. So have to deal with a lot of irrationality, stupidity around. It can happen, but you take a call whether you have to really deal with it, or you can take it as an opportunity to maybe conquer some of your demons, maybe those lower thresholds you may have around those things, to take it to a level where it doesn't bother you anymore. How many people are you going to fight with? See, when crows start fighting with an eagle, what does the eagle do? It soars so high that crows. And if elephant were to pick up on every bark that a dog is giving, then it will not move. It just ignores. So I lend space to that unless you really have to deal with them. So there are multiple ways to look at that opportunity, right? Depending upon what works best for you. But if you're lending minds, it is disturbing you and you're lending a lot of mind space to it, that is something which is not good for you or your spiritual journey. That is something you have to get away from.
Actually, Nitin bhai, I had a female boss, and she would pick on every small thing that I would do. So eventually, I actually started, finding mistakes in my own work. I started doubting my own capabilities, and then I ended up leaving the job because she created that environment so disturbing for me that I just could not take it anymore.
So did you find another boss of same kind of a nature after that?
I changed the company, and that's where I found another female boss. But then the rapport with that female boss was very good.
But then it worked out well, because if sometimes there's a lesson in life, we don't learn it, we get it again from another boss, another person, other relatives. In this case, maybe it was best for you to move on. Things, right? Either you learn to live with the system, or you change the system, or you quit the system. You chose to quit, and it has worked out good for you, so which is good.
I kind of dealt with her for about a year, and then I was not seeing any changes happening. She would pick me on every small thing. She would actually, whenever I would conduct huddles or something, then she would, probably put me down in front of 200 people. So it was kind of getting embarrassing eventually. So I had to decide to leave.
No, that's good. In fact, sometimes we just have to pick our battles, right? We don't have to pick all the battles in our life, which can wear us down. Pick it, and maybe that was the reason you were destined to get something better. It happened. So look at it that way.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
From you. Yes, Tarunji, are you ready to sing then? Are we moving to the devotional segment then?
No, Shri Ramya ji has raised hand for another reason, but can I quickly read this related comment from SRBSG? Nindak nere rakhiye, angan kuti chhavaye, bin sabun pani bina nirmal karat subhai, by Kabir Das ji.
Very true. Easier said than done, but this is how it's meant to be. If you can just get a super critical person, okay, who keeps on criticizing you, bring him to your house, okay, and if your spouse is there, even better. Then let them say everything that they want to say and put tilak on their forehead and simply tolerate it. Then you will spiritually, keep on elevating. Easier said than done, but if you can pull it off, that's the fastest way to spiritual elevation. Right? Tukaram story, so yeah. Put a tilak on his forehead every day and say, bring it on, keep tolerating, and then you will keep on. I see so many heads like, no way.
Okay, Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So I wanted to say two things. First thing is regarding the presentation. I think our team is prepared, and we may go on the selected day. I'll have a check again. But the thing is, we've already prepared for something which will take about 25 minutes time.
Oh my God, 25 minutes, that will be a lot of time actually. So yeah, can you cut it down, or 25 minutes will be it's like the session itself, you will take half of it.
Yeah, and now at this point of time, coming up with something new is totally difficult, and changing this also doesn't seem possible. So is it okay?
We'll still give you your entitled 15 minutes, and let up to people's discretion. If they can stick around, because we will cut short our last segment. Let's do it that way in that case. Okay. So you'll still get your
Okay.
9:45 to 10 slot. And then if you go above, then we will adjust our devotional segment around it in that case. But I would see, I mean, prepare it in a manner so that it's like short, sweet, and impactful. Okay, but yeah,
Yes,
know that.
sweet and impactful, but not short.
No worries. If you've already done it, then we will find that creative way of dealing. So that should be fine. I look forward to that, Shirav, in that case. And thank you for coordinating it and creating a 25-minute output, right? That is going to be awesome. Thank you very much for that.
It was the team. It was the team. So second thing I wanted to say is regarding the Chandrayaan 3 part that we spoke, learning from failures and all that. I wanted to recall a small incident. My friend is working in ISRO for the mission. I've seen a picture of us with Somnath sir as well on LinkedIn as well. She's one of the core part she has worked on. So I called her. I told her congratulations. And she told you too, the whole nation deserves to be congrats, you too. And I was very surprised. She was one of the most humble people I've never known. And she said, no, nothing. I just did a very small part. And she was like very scared. This media people got to know I stay here now. They are coming and all. It's a bit overwhelming and trying to avoid. I did a very small part, Ramya. That's what she told me. And she told you too. And I was like, yeah, the people who actually worked on it, they are not taking the credit. They're so humble and they're telling that the credit goes to the whole nation. And I think that the people have not worked on it and they are fighting for the credit. They're like, we did this, that, and the way the fight is going in the politicians. So from this friend of mine, I really learned what humility is. And especially when I told her congrats and she told to you too, I was like, okay, this is what humility means. And I had this to learn from her. I just thought of sharing.
Thank you, Shirama. Very true. In fact, if you go check it out on the articles, some of the most successful CEOs of companies, they have been most humble people. They are the ones who have thought, who don't think about themselves as somebody extraordinary or special. They just think themselves as one of the many, people within their company who are just performing a different job function. That is how they actually live and think on a day-to-day basis. So humility is a great virtue to have, and it yields success in long run. Too many success stories are around here. By the way, I was seeing that joke going on, right? ISRO, that I was taken out from ISRO pretty early on in my life, right? When teacher said, ISRO mein nahi, USRO mein baitho.
Nitinji, there is this question in the chat. What about mother-in-law in their real form? How to deal? I think it's in connection with what was being discussed about
How
people
to deal with
criticizing.
mother-in-law? You've not seen the serial Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, right? It's payback time, right? So maybe as a daughter-in-law, you have troubled them a lot, in your previous life. So you just take it, tolerate it, right? But if mother-in-law tries to, in India, they happen with dowry, they try to burn the bahu, right? Then take remedial action, call police. But other than that, I think mother-in-laws, their job function is to increase the tolerance, patience, and all that stuff of bahus. So it all happens in family, right? If you have a good mother-in-law, then the sister-in-law will come. So how many in-laws you are going to deal with? It is how it's meant to be. It's a design of this universe where this whole world will push your game. It could be through people, it could be your boss, it could be some circumstances, situations, something will push your game. So look at it that way. That is the advantage people who start aligning to spiritual principles have. Now it's a laboratory. You can use your skills. You can use those principles to see how better you can deal with that situation. So people are strategically placed in that sense, right? And we always have those three options: learn to deal with it, change it, or quit it. In case of puja, quitting helped. In your case of mother-in-law, it may not help, right? While trying to change your mother-in-law, you may get another husband, right? Which will be even more troublesome. So yes, Tarunji.
Yeah, Vikas, we'll come back to you. Tarunji, we haven't heard him yet. Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Okay, Radhe Radhe. Not a bhajan, just I read a Subhashit, which seems to be perfectly suiting to today's discussion. Vidya dadati vinayam, vinyad yati patratam, patratvad dhanmo panoti, dhanad dharma tata sukham. So that means true knowledge gives the humbleness. So if the knowledge is not giving the humbleness, the humility, That is not true knowledge. So Vidya Dadati Vinyam, true knowledge gives the humility. Humility gives the eligibility or the ability to do the things. And then from that eligibility or ability, one gets the wealth, not necessarily the money wealth or any kind of wealth, fame, or and then from that wealth, person puts into the dharma, righteous activities. And then by putting the wealth into the righteous activity, dharma tata sukham, then one person gets the true happiness. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I remember it reading in Sanskrit. Even otherwise, if you look at the nature, right, the trees which are bent, they are bent. The one with fruit, they are bent. They bow down, and the one which do not have fruit, they are like erect. They're not. So you can see that even in nature, and that is how it's meant to be. When you have virtues and you bend down, it is a natural consequence of that, because now you're aligned more to the principle of understanding your constitutional position. So it's a natural consequence of becoming humble. You don't have to even put an effort. You just understand and carry that knowledge all the time, and that's pretty much it, how it's meant to be. Okay, I see 3 more hands. I know we are way over today, so we can take those 3 hands and then wrap it up, maybe with one chant, not more than that.
Yes, Vikas, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. I have a solution to the Monica ji question कि एक कान से सुनो और दूसरे कान से निकाल दो. People who praise.
Oh wow, that is a good tip, Monica ji. Thank you, Vikas. I think this is going to be a Raman in a lot of ways, actually, right? And it helps if between 2 years there's nothing in between. It's a tunnel. But unfortunately, God has given a head in between, right, which absorbs all those things. So, but yeah, good tip, Vikas. Thank you for that. Let's take 2 more hands. Manisha ji and Swati ji have raised their hand as well.
Radhe Radhe, Manisha ji.
We can do one chant and then wrap it up. I know it's already too late and it's Monday morning.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
I just wanted to sing.
Oh, amazing. So I think we are in the devotional segment.
When we are devotional segment officially now, let's sing 2 or 3 and go ahead, please.
Yes, so I would like to sing for my father today, Mahadev, as it's Sawan's last Monday. Yeah. कैसे मैं करता हूँ महादेव की आराधना, महाकाल के दर पर कहीं मिल जाएगा परमात्मा। कैसे मैं करता हूँ मेरे महादेव की आराधना, महाकाल के दर पर कहीं मिल जाएगा परमात्मा। आकाश और धरती मैं कर दूं एक भोले, तुमको पाना मुझको आकर थाम मेरा, आकर थाम मेरा। भूमि के कण कण में और मेघों के गर्जन में, इस सेवक के तन मन में शंकर वास करते। मुझसे लोग जलते हैं, कैसी बातें करते हैं, इनको क्या मैं समझाऊं कि शिव मेरे साथ चलते हैं। मुझसे लोग जलते हैं, कैसी बातें करते हैं, मुझको गर्व है खुद पर कि शिव मेरे साथ चलते हैं। है आदि योगी आदिनाथ शिव शंभु शंकरा, जीवों का पालनहार पशुपति नाथ मेरा महेश्वरा। तेरे दर पे थोड़ी जगह हो तो बस एक बार पुकार, सब त्याग कर आ जाऊंगा, ये प्रार्थना बस एक बार पुकारना, भूमि के कण कण में और मेघों के गर्जन में, इस सेवक के तन मन में शंकर वास करते हैं। मुझसे लोग जलते हैं, कैसी बातें करते हैं, इनको क्या मैं समझाऊं कि शिव मेरे साथ जलते हैं। मुझसे लोग जलते हैं, कैसी बातें करते हैं, मुझको गर्व है खुद पर कि शिव मेरे साथ चलते हैं। आशुतोष शशांक शेखर चंद्रमौलि चिदंबरा, कोटि कोटि प्रणाम शंभो, कोटि नमः दिगंबरा। आशुतोष शशांक शेखर चंद्रमौलि चिदंबरा, कोटि कोटि प्रणाम शंभो, कोटि नमः दिगंबरा। कोटि कोटि प्रणाम शंभो, कोटि नमः दिगंबरा। शंभो। Thank you.
Very nice, Manisha ji. Today you sang Shiv's Bhajan being a Monday. Very nice. And then Laddu, you got some competition now. Yeah. Loved it.
Actually, when I met स्वामी जी, तब मैंने उनसे ये क्वेश्चन किया था कि जो बचपन से मैं महादेव जी का करती आई हूँ, एंड नाउ दिस पुल टुवर्ड्स कृष्णा जी, मुझे ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि मैं गोलोक जाके भी आई कैन विजिट महादेव श्लोक, लाइक शिवलोक भी मैं जा पाऊँ, लाइक काइंड ऑफ माइका एंड ससुराल.
क्या बोला
He
स्वामी?
laughed and he said one thing कि just wait and watch, आपको आंसर मिल जाएगा. I'm still waiting.
Okay. माइका ससुराल, आई लाइक दैट एस्पेक्ट, बट आंसर मिल जाएगा. सही बात है, स्वामी जी ने कहा तो मिल जाएगा, जल्दी मिल जाएगा. Very nice, very devotionally and soulfully sung. We loved it, and thank you for bringing it to our session, Manisha ji. Pleasure hearing it. Thank you.
Coordinated claps coming your way. Beautiful, beautiful rendition. And this line is just getting stuck in my head. Shiv mere saath chalte hain. Very nice. Yeah.
Yes, Swati ji, go ahead.
Awesome.
Swati ji is going to do our short and sweet bhajan. Yes, please go ahead.
Radhe
Yes,
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. This is Shravan. So I'm also going to sing on Shivji only. Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya. Bole Bole Bholenath, कर दो मेरे सिर पर हाथ. भोले बाबा भोलेनाथ, मेरी डोरी तेरे हाथ. नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय. हर हर महादेव बोले, बोले को आसन डोले. नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय, कोई न मेरा तेरे सिवाय. नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
So much, Swati ji. Short and sweet, always. Loved it. Very nice. And we had two Shiv bhajans being a Monday today, so that was a real treat. So thank you, everyone. Rest of the hands we can take tomorrow. It's too much of time here, too late. A lot of people here as well. So Vikash, you get opportunity tomorrow. If you were about to sing a song, if you're going to ask a question, you can put it in a feedback tracker. Tomorrow we'll continue. And thank you again, everybody, for your enthusiastic participation. Have a wonderful day and a great rest of your evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Radhe Radhe from my side. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow.